Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is John, and I am here today to tell you a terrifying tale of adventure gone wrong. It all started nearly a year ago now when my friend Mark and I, who live in different countries, met up for our annual trip. We had been friends since university years before and treasured our week-long expeditions together. This particular year, we decided to travel to the mountains in southern Europe to go hiking. The landscape was beautiful with rocky peaks and trails winding through lush valleys. On our third day of hiking, Mark noticed a small opening in the side of a mountain. "John, come look at this. I think I found a cave." I went over and saw a dark hole leading into the rock, about large enough for a person to crawl through. "Do you think we should explore it?" asked Mark excitedly. My natural caution was battling with my sense of adventure. Against my better judgment, I said, "Yes, let's check it out." We crawled through the small opening on our hands and knees, using our torchlights to see the way. The cave opened up slightly after a few feet and we were able to stand. We began walking further in, marveling at the strange rock formations and curious markings on the walls. The further we went, the more I began to think this was a bad idea. There were no clear signs of anyone else having been here recently, yet everything felt wrong. But Mark was enthusiastic and I didn't want to be the one to end our exploration. After nearly 30 minutes of walking, we came to a large underground chamber with a high ceiling we couldn't see the top of. In the middle was a large dark pool of water, its surface still an inky black. Mark swung his torchlight over the water, trying to gauge its depth. Suddenly, what appeared to be hundreds of eyeballs appeared just below the surface, reflecting the light back at us. Mark let out a yell and nearly fell backwards. "What the hell?" I exclaimed, moving closer to get a better look, but holding Mark back in case he slipped. As we watched in horror, long tentacle-like appendages began emerging from the pool, slowly waving in our direction. We stumbled backwards and began half running, half falling down the cave corridor, tripping over rocks in our haste. We moved as fast as we could, feeling the presence of some unknown evil chasing us, though we couldn't see or hear anything. After what felt like an eternity, we finally spotted the small entrance ahead. With renewed energy, we sprinted the last few meters and dove through the crawl space, collapsing on the ground outside, breathless and shaking. For a moment we just laid there, staring at the pale blue sky, trying to process what had just happened. Eventually Mark broke the silence. "Jesus Christ, John, what the hell was that?" I sighed. "I don't know, but we were damn lucky to make it out of there alive. I told you exploring that cave was a bad idea." Mark nodded solemnly. "You were right, I shouldn't have pushed it. I'm sorry for that." We headed back down the mountain towards our camp in silence, each lost in our own thoughts. That night, as we sat around the campfire, Mark's face was drawn and pale. "John, I can't stop thinking about that thing, whatever it was, in the cave," he said softly. "It felt ancient, malevolent. I think we disturbed something that should have remained hidden." I shuddered, remembering the eyeballs and tentacles emerging from the dark pool. "Try not to dwell on it," I responded. "We made it out. That's what matters." But I could tell Mark was not convinced. A darkness seemed to have settled over him, casting a long shadow I could not penetrate. The next day, we continued our hike, but Mark was quiet and withdrawn. His eyes looked hollow, constantly scanning the horizon as if searching for some unseen threat. I tried my best to joke and distract him, but it was no use. He had brought something back from that cave, a darkness that now lived within him. On our last night of the trip, Mark suddenly turned to me. "John, I have to go back to the cave," he said, a wild light in his eyes. "There are answers I must seek within its depths." I tried reasoning with him, begging him not to return to that place of evil. But my pleas fell on deaf ears. Mark's mind was made up. He wished me farewell and headed off into the night alone, determined to confront whatever entity resided in the underground depths. I never saw Mark alive again. 2 months later, a search party found his remains in a cave deep within the mountains. But his eyes were missing, gouged out by some unknown force. I still think of my friend Mark, taken by the darkness that calls from within the earth. A reminder that some mysteries are best left undiscovered, some evil best left undisturbed. For not all who wander are meant to return. I guess I'm done with that story. I hope you liked it. See you soon.